And we're working. Alright, and welcome back. And here we've got a Brazilian rain tree. This is the smallest cutting I've got. You'll see the rest here in a minute. This is the smallest cutting I've got. It came off of a tree I got December of 2019. If you're familiar with the species, it's not, you know, it's a decent size for a cutting. I should be showing you some pictures of what this thing looked like right when it first gave some life and what it's looked like along the way. I think I pruned it 3 or 4 times. You can see there that it's gotten very tall at times, and legume, these are compound leaves. One of these, each one of these, this piece right here is a leaf, and then all the little tiny leaves on there, or all the tiny little parts on there are actually called leaflets, but that's a leaf by itself. It's blown over a lot, and it's starting to blow over a lot now, so I'm going to go ahead and cut it back here a little bit right now. I don't really know what my plans are for this one. I'm just really trying to let it grow out thick enough to get a trunk worth something, but without it blowing over every time the wind blows here, which is quite often in Florida, right? I'm not trying to get all sciencey on you or anything, but every place it kind of changes directions, there's a thorn, and then that's also where a leaf node would come out. You know, if I were to cut it here, I might get growth here and here, but rain trees are famous for dieback, meaning that if I were to cut it right here, I probably would get growth coming out there, but then, you know, it would die back. It would never get any growth out of the top there because I cut it just below the node. If you try to cut just above, sometimes it'll die back and end up losing it all the way back to here. I want to go a little bit deeper than that today just because, you know, trying to create some taper. And the more you kind of cut it back and let the stump grow again, the more taper it'll eventually get. Maybe save this for some extra ramification in there, and then this other side, an awfully straight piece there, coming way out like that. I think I'll get rid of almost that whole side there. That piece is kind of growing into the tree there. I don't really want to grow into the tree, so I think I am just going to go ahead and lose that down to there. And I think that's good enough for this guy for the day. I've even repotted it once. If I pulled this up now, well, I'm losing here a bunch of the substrate falling down in there. I think if you could hear as well as I can, I'm not sure how well this microphone picks up noise, but I was going to try to show you there's just all a bunch of spaghetti roots in there and everything. It's not bound yet or anything. You can see I pulled it up easily like that. I'm going to try to hold off repotting it until next spring. It's got plenty of new growth coming there. Should recover nicely and not blow over so much. And it'll be less tree for this to take care of. I'd like for it to be more compact, and I'll go get one of its brothers and or sisters here in a minute too. And here's the second piece I've gotten off the mother tree there. This was a failed air layer. The next piece I'm going to bring in is was a successful air layer. It's a lot smaller, but it was a success. Like right here, this is the dead piece that didn't make the air layer. I put it in this pot. I've actually cut it back quite a bit. It keeps leaning a little. I'm not sure why it keeps leaning like that. I might try to straighten it here before I put it back out. I took the air layer off. I thought it was dead. I put it in this pot just kind of on the off chance that, like, oh, this, you know, might get a little life left in, or, you know, coming out of it or whatever, and sure enough it did. I'm trying to show you some pictures here of where that was. You can see how cool those branches look there at the end, but of course then this is bare all the way down. I've been trying to just let it regain some health. You can see I've just been letting it alone for a while. I have pruned it a couple times, but I've left it alone here for a little bit. I'm going to prune it right now, just get it a lot shorter and try to maybe straighten it up in there a little bit. There's a couple little sprouts coming out there right at the bottom, and I'm definitely going to leave them alone. That'd be nice to pull the stump out, because that's one of the, a lot of tropicals just in general don't have the best nebari at times, just because of how, you know, actually I'm not really sure why, but they just don't have the best nebari. But if they get, you know, the growth down low here, it should help. You know, this dead piece here, I was going to leave it in as a decoration. I'm not going to cut it off today, or as a decoration. It's just kind of a feature on it or whatever. But when I had the other one in, and I said I didn't want to get all sciencey about what it was with the compound leaves and everything else. These are related to like a sensitive plant, a mimosa or whatever. You can even see here just from being inside, they're starting to look a little sad. This one I have sitting in the most sun outside. Or not the most sun, but it gets sun first thing in the morning, so my whole yard will be dark, and this sits in a little corner where it gets the first bit. It's really kind of cool to look at while the yard is still dark, and everything kind of wakes up at night. All these leaves fold up, and it just almost looks like it's dead. If you came and saw it at night, you would think it was just dead. I don't know if you can notice that it's starting to look a little sad now, just from being inside and out of the light. So I'm going to go ahead and prune it and get it back outside. Although being in here for a few minutes doesn't hurt anything. I'm going to take out some super long pieces and then see what it looks like and consider making some other decision. When you decisions maybe just as far as like chopping off some of the bigger branches. Brazilian rain trees are directional, meaning that here you have the thorns here, the leaf was coming here. So if I don't do any more cutting there, this will get a branch growing that way. It's a nice way to kind of control which way it goes. Right now I'm not really thinking about that all that much. I mean, I am thinking that this piece is growing into this piece here, but right now I'm just trying to reduce it some. After I get it reduced here really well, I may make some other decisions today, or I just might leave it just smaller back outside to recover. This low piece here, it's coming out of, you see, that's the dead piece. Definitely going to have a reverse taper issue there, but this should be a unique enough tree where, I mean, in my personal opinion, if a tree's unique enough into the story of where it came from and how it's surviving, what it looks like, I think sometimes you can excuse some of the rules of bonsai being broken. But get this other long piece here, make it a little bit easier to look at and kind of turn around. And now that I've got it reduced quite a bit, you see what I'm talking about there, where it's got a live piece coming out of the very bottom, some little tiny growth coming out of there, then this little dead piece, and then that's where I'm worried about inverse taper. There's actually 3 strong branches coming off of there, and then this one low one. Right now I'm just kind of thrilled that the thing's alive. Seems like it keeps leaning further and further over. I'm not really all that sure why. About 3 months ago, I pulled it up out of this pot and I cut the pot down. This was like just like a cheap pot that I got from Walmart or something like that, but because I had put it in here just to see if it would get some life, I put it in there deep so it would hold still. Pulled it out, had plenty of really healthy roots. I didn't really take any pictures or anything, I don't think, but I cut them all off and put some good bonsai soil on the bottom of it, and then just kind of set it back on top. A little bit straighter in the pot now, and I'll just put this back outside and let it get healthy again, and then maybe start making some decisions on what, if I'm going to keep the dead wood part of it. Anyway, I'm going to go out here and get the third cutting, and then we'll take a look at the mother tree. Here's the third cutting I took from the mother tree. Before we take a look at the mother tree, this was, I just called it a cutting. This was actually an air layer. It was a very small air layer I took, but it was successful, as you can see. I just repotted it a couple months ago. When I did repot it, I was going to take these 2, well, at one point I was calling them sacrifice branches. I'm not sure if I'm going to make them sacrifices or not, but decided not to. I kept a close eye on it. I mean, some people, well, I say some people, it's pretty well known to put things in the shade when you repot them. I actually put it right back out in the sun, and it did fine. You can see here it's recovering just great. You can see those little buds. Those are going to be flowers. I've only had 1 flower on one of these so far. I guess it's somewhat of a mystery as to the ones that flower, the ones that don't, why, and if you can take cuttings off of them, whatever. I'm not really even all that sure, but anyhow, I've been leaving these 2 long branches on. The idea is that trying to make it wide, and I was kind of trimming this up as I went. You can see here it had some little stumps. When I repotted it, that's actually where I cut it to, was right there. And the trunk is getting a little character to it. I was hoping to, if I'd left those 2 bottom branches, that would actually make this like a lot wider. Try to give it some taper. It's not really working. Still should be a really nice looking tree one day. I'm going to put this back out in the sun, and we'll go grab the mother tree, which is going to be a lot harder to get a good angle at and everything. We'll see how that turns out. Alright, and here is the mother plant. Trying to make a cascade out of it. As I have searched the internet for Brazilian rain tree cascades, and as I have searched the internet for Brazilian rain tree cascades, I don't really see a whole lot of good examples of them. I have seen 2 or 3 decent looking amateur ones. Bonsai Nursery in North Fort Myers has a really big, beautiful one. I did notice it doesn't have a big wad of foliage. At one point I had this kind of picture that I could have like a big wad coming off the one side and just have like a huge tree there. It really does grow just straight up. Here I had pruned it, I don't know, 4 or 5 months ago. I know it wasn't that long ago. It was at least March. Now all of a sudden everything just kind of grows straight back up. This piece is kind of even growing back into the tree a little bit. I don't know if I'm going to cut any of this today. I have decided that this piece here, so it's kind of made a second cascade. I kind of wanted to save it at one point to see if it was going to be like better than the other side or whatever, and it's definitely not. So I think I'm going to go ahead and take it off right here. I'll leave this piece just for health. In case I may still make it not a cascade. I could just, you know, I could actually take this part off, and I still have this, and then I'd have some nice taper. I'd have a nice little trunk tree there. I'd have a, you know, a good little start for a tree. You know, since I do have the other ones to kind of play with as far as like keeping a normal tree. I am going to try to keep it a cascade. It's not the easiest thing to keep in the world. I mean, this was hard to get a little setup in here to have a look at. I had a bucket at first, but it was up so high and had to adjust everything. I think it really does put out growth fast. This whole branch here probably isn't but a week or two old. I mean, it really does just, you can notice the growth every day. I can't wait till school's over so I can kind of check this thing out right when the sun comes up and everything. I saw it this morning right when the sun came up. It looks different every day. Every day it'll get new growth out of here. I don't think I like that. I think I'm gonna go ahead and get rid of it. I don't like, that's one of the rules is straight up, straight down pieces, and then you don't want stuff that's growing into the main part of the trunk. I do have a couple pots picked out for this guy. I was thinking this. In the light and the dark, it actually looks like it's just a black pot with some specks. In the light, it kind of has a copper look to it. Has this piece here, like the cascade is spilling out. Of course, now that I'm looking at it, I haven't really had them up next to each other for a while. Maybe I will stick with this. But I had kind of half changed my mind into going towards this pot, and just simply because it's a little bit wider than the current pot it's in. It's more shallow. I'd have to, definitely be watering it every day. I think it'd be a little more sturdy. I worry about the other one tipping over. When I just had it in my hand there, it is really solid. Maybe it wouldn't spill over so much, but it looked pretty nice in this one too. We'll see what happens. Thanks for watching.